How can you tell if your clothes are well made? Today I'm going to share 4 signs that your clothes are good quality. Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Netta. My whole goal for this channel is to help you look and feel beautiful and confident every single day by building a wardrobe and a style that you love. So if that sounds like something that's interesting for you, definitely hit the subscribe button. It's free. We have the best time here, and I would love for you to stick around and join us. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about a topic I get a lot of questions about. And there's a good reason I get a lot of questions about quality, because there's so little really good quality in stores these days. So much of what we're seeing in stores is fast fashion. It's made quickly. It's made to have a short life cycle, a short, the durability isn't there, the quality isn't there. And, we're burning through these clothes super, super quickly. It used to be that designers only had to show their collections a couple times a year. Now it seems like there are 84 collections a year, 75 different fashion weeks, and fashion, everything has just become accelerated. I think social media is partly to blame for that, but also the fact that we all want instant gratification. We want cheap clothes, we want trendy clothes, and we want them right now, like immediately. So all of that has kind of led to a decline in quality. The way that clothes were made 50 years ago and the way that they're made now is very, very different, especially in fast fashion brands when you're, stacking 100 layers of fabric on top of each other and cutting them, and the top layer and the bottom layer are going to have no resemblance to each other, but you're going to slap the same size tag on each of those items. So, we wonder why things aren't always working for us, things aren't always fitting us well, things are not holding up and lasting a long time. It's because the quality, the way that they're made, is not designed to hold up over time. So it's kind of, what's it called, built-in obsolescence, but like they do with technology, but they sort of do it with clothes too. They're designed to disintegrate after, they probably should have an expiration date on the label. Okay, this shirt will self-destruct in 6 months, because that's as long as most of these items are designed to hold up. Okay, but how can we combat that, and when should we combat that? So let me start by saying that there's this unrealistic idea. I believe it's unrealistic. I don't think it's true to life and true to the way that most of us live, that every single item that we wear needs to be the absolute best quality. We're going to have casual clothes that we don't want to have to watch out for as much. We're going to have statement and fun and trendy pieces that maybe we didn't spend as much money on because we know they're going to be out of style in 3 months, 6 months, a year. This is where fast fashion can be useful, to pick up on some trends, some pieces that look intriguing to you, but you don't want to break the bank on. You don't want to spend a lot of money on them because they're not going to be a long-term part of your wardrobe. There are 2 different schools of thought on this. Statement pieces show their price like more easily than basic pieces. So basic pieces, you can buy basic pieces at every price point and get good quality basic pieces. But when you're looking at statement pieces, a statement piece from, that's $20 from H&M, and a statement piece from a brand like Farm Rio is going to be, the details are going to be very different. And because there are more details in statement pieces, you can see when the corners have been cut and when quality is lacking more easily than you can in basic pieces. That said, I still think within reason, get the statement pieces at a less expensive price, get the basic pieces at whatever price it takes for you to buy pieces that you love, because those are going to be in your wardrobe for a while. So it could be Old Navy, it could be Neiman Marcus. You just want those basic pieces that you love. Okay, so you want to invest in pieces that you're going to wear a lot and wear for a long time. Those are the pieces where you're really looking for quality. So the classics in your wardrobe, right? And this is what we're going to use, these tips to determine which of the classics are good quality and which are not, and how you can tell. The first thing I would encourage you to do when you are shopping is what I call the scrunch, bunch, and pull. So you really just want to play with that fabric. I'm going to show you what this looks like. So if I pull a blouse like this, and you guys have seen this, I always keep it here so I can use it to demonstrate to you guys. You can do this scrunch up the fabric and let it fall apart and see, do you like the way it looks? Or is the blouse completely misshapen after you scrunched it? Like, how's the fabric holding up? Another thing to do is, now this blouse is designed to be a little bit sheer, but you want to put your hand through the fabric, and you can see that you don't see my entire hand in it, even though this is supposed to be a light and airy blouse. Whereas if this was a really poor quality blouse, this is Free People, so it's nicer quality. If it was a really poor quality blouse, you'd be able to see my whole hand through it. Another thing to do is to take the seams and to stretch the item of clothing at the seams. Now this is a little bit harder to see probably on a white top, but you want to take this seam and stretch it and see if it comes apart. Can you see your skin through the seam? Like, how does the seam look like it's held up? Does it look like it's pulling apart? Do you see a lot of loose threads? Like, play with it, scrunch it, touch the fabric, get an idea of how it's going to wear on you. When you pull it out and pull it down like this and then let go, is the entire shape of the item distorted? Like, is it now all stretched out, or does it bounce back into shape? So this is one of my favorite tops, and it passed all the tests. So it stretched, bounced back into shape when I stretched it out. The seams are nice and tight. There are no loose strings hanging there. When I scrunched up the fabric, granted some fabrics are going to be more delicate than others, but are you comfortable with the way it looks and the way it falls back into place after you scrunch it? Don't be afraid to handle those clothes. Get a feel for them and decide if the way that they feel and wear is going to be something that you can live with. So that's called scrunch, bunch, and pull. So just get in there, feel the fabric, look at the details, and see if it's going to work for you. Okay, the second thing I encourage you to do when you are looking at the quality of clothes. Now, most of these things are going to work a little bit more easily in real life than they are online, but you can utilize a lot of these suggestions no matter how you're shopping. So I do have a video on how to buy nice clothes online, how to know what you're getting when you're shopping online. I will link that in the description box. But today I'm really talking primarily about looking at the details however you can look at them, whether you're in a store looking at them or whether you're looking at them online. They have little magnifiers, they have models walking back and forth, they have little video clips of clothing items, so you can really get an idea of some of these details without ever touching the item. So the scrunch, bunch, and pull obviously is only going to work for you if you're actually handling the item in real life. So fabric, let's talk about fabric. You want to look at the composition of the fabric. You want to look at the sheerness. I talked about that with the white top. Like when you put your hand through the top or the material, can you see your hand through it clearly? Unless it's designed to be sheer, like that's the style of the item, you don't want sheer fabrics. It's a sign that the fabric is less tightly woven, therefore less durable, and it's not going to hold up as well, and it just is not as an elegant of a look. It's not going to drape as well. It's going to show everything underneath it, all the things. Fewer fibers equal less durable. More tightly woven fibers are more durable. So that's something to look for. Look at the way that the fabric is woven when it's a woven fabric, or knit if it's a knit fabric. And you want to make sure that the fibers on the item are close together. So if you look at the fibers on a shirt, you shouldn't be able to see the individual little threads going through it. You should be able to see that the fibers are really tight together, and you can't see spaces. They're evenly spaced apart, and it just looks like it's a cohesive fabric rather than individual pieces coming through. Okay. Keep in mind that different fabrics are going to have different properties. Like denim, really good quality denim, especially like some of the new all cotton denim is going to be a little bit stiff at the beginning, but that will soften with time. What you don't want is you don't want it to be so stiff and so scratchy, and you don't want it to be like buttery soft so that it feels like PJs from the first time you put them on, because both of those extremes are signs of poor denim quality. You want it to be somewhere in the middle. You want it to have good shape, good heft to it, good good body, and at the same time be relatively soft. It can be a little bit stiff at the beginning, but you want it to be soft. You do not want it to be pokey and uncomfortable from the first time you tried on. You also want form retention, and in the way that I stretched out that white shirt, you want to stretch out any item that you're considering and see if it bounces back to shape. You want it to bounce back to shape quickly. You don't want it to get all stretched out or be saggy baggy by the end of the day, especially jeans. We've all experienced that, and it's so annoying. Another thing I would say is, if you are looking at natural fibers, you're going to generally find that you've got better quality than you do if you're looking at synthetic fibers. But that's not always the case. So I'm just going to get into a couple of fibers and what to look for when it comes to fabric. Cotton is one of the easiest fabrics to buy at a low price point with good quality. So for example, it's going to be really hard to find a really good quality silk blouse that's inexpensive, but a really good quality cotton top that's inexpensive is a lot easier to find. Cotton is breathable, it's lightweight, and it's affordable, and it's comfortable, and it's just, what was that old slogan from the Cotton Association, the fabric of our lives? It really is something that everybody can wear, everyone enjoys wearing. It's comfortable, it's casual, but it can also be dressed up. It's just a great versatile year-round fabric. So if you are on a budget and you want natural fibers, you want natural fabrics, definitely consider investing in cotton. Now, when you're looking at the label of an item of clothing, it's going to tell you the composition, the breakdown of the fabric. So I was just looking at sheets a couple of days ago, and it said cotton rich. Cotton rich means that there's a lot of cotton in it, but it's not all cotton. If you want all cotton, look for that label. If you want a cotton linen blend, look for that on the label. The better quality cottons are going to go beyond telling you just that it's cotton. They're going to tell you the grade of the cotton. They're going to tell you where it comes from. Some of the best cotton comes from Egypt. Egyptian cotton is still really, really prized. Pima cotton is still really, really prized. But really look at, the cotton quality, if they give you the grade, if they give you where it comes from. Pima cotton, Egyptian cotton, I think there's another one like something cotton, I'll write it below, are all considered really, really good quality cotton. They're long fibers of cotton. They hold up really, really well. They're really durable, and they're really soft. So definitely look at the fabric composition if you're trying to find, for any item especially, but definitely with cotton, you'll find where they're from, and that will give you an indicator of quality. Okay, linen. The higher linen percentage in the item, if you're looking at linen pieces, if they've got 80% cotton, 20% linen, that's not going to be as high quality for linen as 80% cotton or 80% linen, 20% cotton. The higher linen percentage, the better quality in linen items, because linen, they tend to mix with other fabrics or other fibers because linen is expensive, and it obviously has its drawbacks, like in terms of wrinkling and things like that. Linen is never going to be super soft, but it should be smooth. If it's scratchy, you're looking at poor quality linen. Cotton linen blends are really, really popular and a really good compromise that kind of brings some of the best qualities of both fibers into the mix. Now let's talk about, those are just a couple of the natural fibers that we're used to. We've got cashmere, we've got wool, we've got a lot of different options, but let's talk about a synthetic that I do like. I really like rayon as a synthetic. Rayon is made of wood pulp. So it's part synthetic, part natural, but there are some really good rayons out there that you might not even know are rayons. Modal is considered one of the best quality rayons. Modal is made from I think it's bamboo or something like that. It's very, very lightweight, very breathable, holds up well, holds its shape well, washes well. It's just a really good, nice quality fiber. Another one is Tencel. Tencel is that answer to denim for people who don't love the feel of denim. It's often used to create like denim looking pieces, but it also is available in a wide variety of colors and styles. So Tencel is also a form of rayon. These are sustainable, more sustainable depending on the way the company makes them. They are really good quality. They can hold up really, really well. And when you're looking at a higher price point, like an Eileen Fisher, a company that really prides itself on good brands, you will see that they will choose synthetics when synthetics work better, and they'll choose natural fibers when natural fibers work better. At the lower end, you're going to see a lot more natural fibers that are like a polyester, which is essentially like a plastic, that are used just to cut corners and to cut costs. But the higher end brands will also use synthetics when synthetics are the best choice for that garment, because they're going to have different properties, obviously, than fabrics like cotton or linen or denim or cashmere. Okay, so just look at the fabric, really lean into the fabric composition, look at the pieces that you love in your wardrobe and that have held up over time, and ask yourself, what fabric, how are these made, what do they look like, what can I take away from this? Okay, next thing I want to talk about is construction. Construction is how an item is assembled. You can start with great fabric and fail on the construction. The item can still be, can look like poor quality. So, for example, I mentioned in my essentials video that a back yoke on a button down is a really, really nice sign of good construction, good quality. They didn't cut corners. They added that back yoke, which gives more flexibility in terms of fit and is more durable. Like Frank and Eileen, they will always have the yokes on them. H&M is not going to probably have a yoke on a button down. But look, that's something to look for when it comes to quality, the construction. Seams. French seams are kind of one of the gold standard seams. They're not as durable. It can be a seam that they use on more delicate items and more delicate fabrics. There's another seam called a flat felled seam that's really durable. That's good for like the side of a pair of pants, for example. Anywhere where you're going to be pushing against the fabric or stretching against the fabric, it needs to be a little bit more durable. So you want to look for a nice clean seam. You want to make sure that the seams are not, there are no strings hanging out, that it's not frayed, that it's not stitched over a couple of times, that the stitches are neat, that there's a little bit of a hem allowance, that, if you compare an item, and when you go to a really nice store, you go to a Neiman Marcus, you go to a store like that and go to their higher end items and look at how they're finished, and then try to see if you can find that type of a finish in a price point that works for your budget. Okay, so seams should be stitched close together. There are not lots of big gaps and lots of big spaces and lots of big stitches in the seams. They need to be neat. They need to be, again, not frayed, no loose threads. You can't, if you pull the seam apart, you should not be able to see through the seam. It should be a nice tight seam that stays close together. You want hidden zippers whenever possible. I know a few years ago exposed zippers were a trend, but it's not really a trend anymore. And so on most items of clothing, you're going to want to look for hidden zippers whenever you can, because it's a sign that the item was finished in an even more kind of upscale, high-end way. Finished hems are becoming increasingly harder to find. So you want a finished hem with a nice sized hem allowance, especially if you're tall and you might want to take that hem down, rather than a hem that's raw or cut, right? Because again, another way that brands are cutting corners is by not hemming items of clothing. Back to seams for a second. If you see a center seam on the back of a jacket, that's a really good quality sign. A lot of jackets are not adding that center seam, but a center seam on the back of a jacket going vertical is a nice detail to look for. Another detail to look for is in the patterns. The quality of the patterns, the artistic nature of the patterns. Are they really obvious kind of everyday patterns that you see everywhere? Are they unique? One of the reasons I love Farm Rio, it's one of my favorite brands, is that their patterns are unique. And you can tell brands that really focus on patterns and brands that just don't, and their patterns are just kind of like everyone else's, or they're boring, or worst of all, they're frumpy. So you want to see how the pattern is placed on the item of clothing, and how, most importantly, how the pattern lines up. So that's one of the reasons I chose to wear this top. This is a Farm Rio top. It's got stripes going this way and stripes going this way. The stripes line up across the buttons. The stripes line up really, really well, like they are straight across here. And we've got buttons down the front here, and you can still see that the stripes go across the button placket very neatly, and that the pattern is placed together well. Another place to look for the pattern placement is in the sides of the item. Do the stripes go all the way across, or does the stripe start here, end here, and just not meet in the middle? So you want good pattern placement along the side. Stripes are one of the hardest hardest patterns to line up perfectly, and they've lined this up perfectly. I can see the stripes go straight across. You can't even tell that the item has been sewn. Another, florals are the same way. Like sometimes you can see florals that someone once pointed out to me that a dress I was wearing on Instagram, the florals are kind of awkwardly placed over the bust. You want to look at the pattern placement, and you want to look at the way that the pattern is lining up where the seams are on the item of clothing. Okay, so pattern is another way you can determine whether an item has good construction or bad construction. Finally, I want to talk about the details. So the details are the finishing touches on an item of clothing. We've talked about fabric, we've talked about construction. Details include things like buttons. Does the item come with extra buttons and thread? If it does, chances are they're thinking that you're going to have that item for a while, and they want to make sure that you can repair it if you need to. You want to look at the buttonholes. What do the buttonholes look like? Are they nice and tight and neatly stitched, or are they loose, too big for the button, too small for the button, frayed edges, sloppily done? Is it a nice tight buttonhole or a loose and sloppy buttonhole? The buttons need to be tightly stitched on. Give them a little tug. Are the buttonholes are buttons like wanting to come out after just a couple of little tugs? How are you going to be able to button and unbutton that shirt without having to re-sew the buttons on if they come out just by tugging? You also want to look at good quality buttons versus bad quality buttons. So a lot of times an inexpensive item can be upgraded by switching out the buttons. I love vintage buttons, and they're so beautiful. So if you find a clothing piece that you love, but the buttons on it are cheap, flimsy plastic buttons, just replace those buttons with a nice set of buttons. They can be really inexpensive to buy nice buttons. You can find them at trimming stores. You can take them from old items of clothing you're not wearing anymore. You can find them at vintage stores or antique stores. But really good quality buttons, like natural materials, wood, mother of pearl, metal materials, as opposed to cheap plastic buttons, is a great touch to look at in an item. So buttonholes, buttons, easy, instant upgrade to whatever you're wearing. A last thing I want to encourage you to look at are the embellishments. If there is an applique, a doodad, fringe, tassels, whatever it is on your item of clothing that's external to it, it should be sewn on and not glued on. So, for example, I have a moto jacket that's got appliques on it and floral appliques on it. Those floral appliques are sewn onto the moto jacket. They're not glued onto the moto jacket. So sewing versus gluing is a good sign of a well-made item and where the details are just well constructed and well thought of. So I hope that was helpful. I know we covered a lot, really talked about fabric, really talked about the construction, we really talked about the details, and we talked about why you should just go up to an item and just kind of rough it up a little bit and see how it responds. Because you're going to be wearing this item in real life. It's not just going to be hanging on a hanger. Ideally, you want it to be something that you're going to reach for again and again, and that's going to hold up over time. I know that those of you who sew have a whole other level of expertise when it comes to durability and it comes to fabric assessment and all of that than those of us like me who don't sew. I work with clothes, I don't make clothes, and that's a big difference. My mother sews beautifully. She's sewn my whole life. We would go shopping and she would just immediately turn an item inside out to see how it was made. What was the fabric? What was the seam like? How was it sewn? How was it assembled? And so those of you who sew know what I'm talking about, and you have a level of understanding of fabric and material that a lot of us don't have. But it's really important to invest in quality when you're talking about buying pieces that are going to be in your wardrobe for a long time. So I hope that was helpful. Let me know if there are any other questions that you have about quality. I know I could probably do part 2, part 3, part 24, because there's so many things to talk about when it comes to choosing high quality clothes for your wardrobe that will serve you for a long time to come. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, love this community that we've built here, and love having you guys comment. Let me know what you think of this video. Definitely don't forget to hit the like button, hit the notification bell, lets you know when I upload new videos every Tuesday and every Friday, and I'll see you in the next video.